I'm Haley Taylor, and you're listening to The Rough Draft Diaries. Well, it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which means it's time for the Rough Draft Diaries Thanksgiving special. And this year is going to be a little different because, well, everything is a little different this year. Normally, our Thanksgiving special involves a trip to a local restaurant as the head chef welcomes us into the kitchen to teach us a Thanksgiving recipe. We've been to Dégagé, Fowl and Fodder, Foodology, Registry Bistro, the Bellwether, and now for our 6th Thanksgiving special, we can't go anywhere. With the ongoing pandemic and quarantine, you can't even dine in a restaurant, let alone bring a production crew into the kitchen. So we're not going to be meeting at a restaurant this year, but we are meeting with someone who knows her way around the kitchen just as much as a chef would.
I'm Mary Bilyeu, and I'm the food editor at The Blade.
As the food editor, you may know Mary for writing the Sunday Pantry recipes, the Dinner for One feature, which is the first Sunday of each month, or the Wednesday recipes, all found in the Peach section of Toledo's local newspaper, The Blade.
I get you all ready so you can cook and bake for yourself, for your loved one.
And Mary's going to help us out with Thanksgiving this year by sharing a Thanksgiving recipe. But first, we're going to talk about, again, how different this year is going to be for a lot of people, with many families having smaller get-togethers or no gatherings at all. For Mary, that type of small, simple celebration is actually the usual.
Well, I come from a family. I try to put a positive spin on it and say that we do not put the fun in dysfunction. So I'm used to having small-scale meals, which I think is a benefit. I actually wrote about this my first year, and it was amazing how many people chimed in, that they felt seen, they felt heard. Suddenly I'm looking at a year where people are going to be having dinner alone, or it's just going to be an empty nest couple. Their kids are going to be staying in their vicinity. Nobody's going to be traveling. It's not going to be a Norman Rockwell year, and that's really sad for so many people who are used to having the multi-generational feast of food and love.
My family gatherings in a normal year are exactly what Mary described, a multi-generational feast of food and love. And it is difficult to think that this year isn't going to be the same. And if you're in the same boat, Mary has some advice.
Don't feel that you're alone. If it's really uncomfortable, reach out to people or, use food. Still make something that's special to you. Don't say, well, I'm not going to have 12 people here, so I can't make this. Find a way to make it, or if it's something that you could buy somewhere from the grocery store or a specialty bakery or something, and it means a lot to you, you're worth it. I do Dinner for One recipes once a month, and every time I say, even if it's only you having dinner, you deserve a nice dinner. You deserve something special. You deserve comfort when you're having a hard time adjusting to the new holiday routine. You just make it special. Make an effort to make it special for yourself. It will be different, but it doesn't have to be sad. It doesn't have to be hollow. It doesn't have to be hurtful. Make that effort to make it special for yourself.
And here is the perfect recipe to make your Thanksgiving special this year. It's Mary's pumpkin bread pudding with maple bourbon brown sugar sauce.
So for the pudding, you need 3 eggs, 1/3 of a cup powdered sugar, 1/4 cup sugar, 1 teaspoon vanilla, 1.5 cups of 2% milk, although really, whatever milk you have on hand, 1 1/4 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 cup of pumpkin puree, 4 large day-old croissants cut into 1-inch cubes, and 1/4 cup brown sugar. Then for the sauce, you want 4 tablespoons of butter, 1/3 of a cup brown sugar, 1 tablespoon maple syrup, 1 tablespoon bourbon, 1 tablespoon corn syrup, 1 teaspoon vanilla, and a 1/2 cup of half and half. So to make the pudding, you want to preheat the oven to 350 and grease a 9 by 13-inch baking dish. In a large bowl, whisk together eggs, powdered sugar, vanilla, milk, 1 teaspoon of the cinnamon, and the pumpkin puree. Stir in the croissant cubes and mix that well and let it rest for about 5 minutes so that they start to absorb the custard. Then pour that into the baking dish. Combine the remaining 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon with brown sugar and sprinkle that all over the pudding. Put it in the oven and bake it for about 45 minutes or so. When it's ready, the pudding will be puffy. You want to put a sharp knife into the center and it should come out clean. Let it rest for 5 minutes, and then it will start to deflate a little bit. So while that's baking, you can make the sauce. Place the butter, the brown sugar, the maple syrup, the bourbon, the corn syrup, and the vanilla into a small saucepan and melt them all together over medium-high heat. Whisk in the half and half, bring it to a boil, and cook it without touching it, without stirring, for 1 minute. Let it cool for 10 minutes, and the sauce will thicken. When you're ready to serve, just cut the pudding into squares. It's up to you how generous you want those squares to be. Serve it with ice cream or whipped cream, and drizzle the sauce along.
So that's another year of the Rough Draft Diaries Thanksgiving special. As per usual, if you want to get that recipe, make sure to visit our website, wgte.org, and make sure, no matter how you're celebrating this year, that your Thanksgiving is special in some way. Because as Mary said, you're worth it. I'm Haley Taylor, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Rough Draft Diaries.